it could have really, really disastrous effects in the Middle East and beyond.
Well, the president's announcement came as Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was in Israel meeting with Netanyahu, a visit that also saw another major shift in U.S. foreign policy. Pompeo joined the prime minister to a visit to the Western Wall in Jerusalem's Old City. It marked the first time that the U.S.'s top diplomat has visited the disputed area, accompanied by a senior Israeli official, a potential tactic by the administration to recognize Israel's sovereignty over the contested holy site. Pompeo also agreed with a reporter's suggestion that God may have sent President Trump to Earth to protect Israel.
Dear Lord.
Could it be that President Trump right now has been sort of raised for such a time as this, just like Queen Esther, to help save the Jewish people from an Iranian menace?
As a Christian, I certainly believe that's possible. It was remarkable. So we were down in the tunnels where we could see 3,000 years ago and 2,000 years ago, if I have the history just right, to see the remarkable history of the faith in this place and the work that our administration has done to make sure that this democracy in the Middle East of this Jewish state remains. I'm confident that the Lord is at work here.
That's John Meacham. I just don't know where to begin. A man who has probably committed felonies paying off porn stars to help win elections, and who, as we've noted today, cannot tell the truth. He just cannot tell the truth. Being compared by Mike Pompeo to Queen Esther. You were born, Donald Trump, for times such as these. It's shocking, and yet, my God, I'm sure a lot of people watching that,
so to speak,
actually believed it.
Yeah. Let he is without sin cast the first stone. So I say this honestly, joking aside, I say this with as much humility as possible. There's an extraordinarily important tradition in Western culture, mostly in America, of separating the kingdom of the world from the kingdom of God. And it's important because we're warned in the Judeo-Christian tradition that you should not put your trust in princes. The initial idea of the wall of separation between church and state, which Jefferson, is a phrase of Roger Williams's that he had picked up from an Anglican divine, Richard Hooker. Jefferson put it into circulation in America, stayed out really into the 20th century when the Supreme Court put it back in. The wall was supposed not to protect the state from the church, but the church from the state. That the religious undertaking, the Augustinian journey of the soul in the world trying to get back to its real home in heaven, which is an ancient tradition, that was the central undertaking. And when we start ordaining and investing our mortal, flawed, frail selves with divine properties, we confuse ourselves. And we put ourselves in the place. It's idolatry, really.
It's idolatry, and again, it is. Here you have again so many evangelicals who, by the way, were very critical of Barack Obama when he said things like, "We are the ones that we've been waiting for," and other people referred to him as Black Jesus. They were so offended by that, and yet here we have people elevating this man to Old Testament biblical stature. A man, again, you're right, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I have done it so much, I would never cast stones. But here is a man who has said repeatedly that he has never felt the need to ask God for forgiveness. He's never felt the need to ask Jesus to forgive him of his sins. He said it in 2015. He reiterated it months later. It is a strange thing watching the idolatry of this man in particular by evangelical Christians who, if they have actually read the New Testament, should know better.
Yeah, and there's always a great Lincoln story on this. He received a delegation of ministers during the Civil War, and they said, we're just so glad that God is on our side. And Lincoln said, no, let's just hope we're on his side.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Well, it is something, Mika. But there you have it. This again, it has turned into, in so many ways, a personality cult. And here you actually have the Secretary of State, saying yes, perhaps that he is like Queen Esther.
There's so many things wrong with that. Jeremy Bash and Natasha Bertrand, thank you both very much. Still ahead on Morning Joe, this week marked the 16th anniversary